Hi, today I'm going to share with you day one of predictable chart writing. I plan to use this with one of my students. I'll refer to him as JL. He is a nonverbal student with autism. He will be in 11th grade next year. I built this lesson around two essential elements from the core, EEW 11 through 12.3, which is write about events or personal experiences. And the other is EEW 11 through 12.6, which is use technology, including the internet, to produce, publish, and update an individual or shared writing project. So what I am going to do is just model what I would do for day one for you, since this takes place over several days. But what I like to do is always tie writing to reading. And so for online learning, JL and I just finished a nonfiction book that he chose about basketball. He really enjoys playing basketball. He's one of 6 children. And so he and his mom, in our Google slideshow that we did, uploaded a lot of personal pictures of him playing with his siblings and his family and things of that nature. So what I would do is I would refer back to some of those pictures and have him choose some that we would write about, and we would start a new Google slideshow together of our finished product. So that would be the end result of this, just so you can try to picture that. Some of the resources that I would plan to use with this are some sentence frames. This is one for nonfiction. And so as we started out, there are 3 options to start the writing. There's some sentence frames for the middle of the book or the Google slideshow, and then a closing. There's some other pieces, graphic organizers that I would like to use with him of when we're done, check it. Does it have a capital letter, punctuation, a subject, a verb? Does it make sense? And then I also use this helping verb chart with him quite a bit, where he selects verbs that he would like to use. And so I might refer to those. Another thing that I have done with him, since he has difficulty replicating vowel sounds and vowel teams, is I have a chart from Jollyphonics, and sometimes I use this and it helps him know what some of those tricky vowel teams would look like as we're stretching out words, and then he types them. So he would have another computer here, or his computer here for the lesson, and when it was his turn to write, he would go ahead and write, and it would be a guided writing event. I would help him through that process. We also a lot of times use an additional whiteboard at school for him. I let him choose 2 action phrases on how he would like to finish his sentence. So just lots of different pieces for him to be using, multimodality, if you will. So anyway, if I were to start then for day one, I would start off and we would just kind of choose. So I might say, let me tell you about basketball. And so I would have Jared maybe choose that starter, but let's say he chose that. And so then I would just model that writing for him and just say, okay, let me tell you about basketball. And that's all right on there. Basketball is not there, so we could stretch that out. We might even refer back to our book, quite honestly. Or I have basketball on a little piece of paper or an index card here. He might also like to say, let me tell you about this game. So I have that as an option, or let me tell you about my favorite game. So whatever he kind of wanted to work with, I would do that for him. So we're just going to say basketball for today's purposes. And I'm running out of room there. So then we would reread this together, and he, even though he's nonverbal, he does make sounds and he attempts to read, and we can quite often understand what he's saying. So we would say, let me tell you about basketball. And then we would go ahead and transition to add more to the story. And in the next part, there are several options. A sentence starter would be in basketball. So again, I might have him choose in this game, in basketball, whatever he wanted to do, then I would write that. So let's just say he chose in this game. So then I might write this, in this game. And then the next part, again, I would have him share this task with me. Even though I'm really modeling this, I want to, since he is in 11th grade, I want to get him as active as possible. So I would engage him. So in this game, and then he could choose some of these phrases. You have fun. Or he might say, I play with. So let's say he chose that. So I play with. So in this game, I play with, and then I would have several options for him to choose how he would want to finish that. I play with, and so he could say my friends, or you could do your friends. That's just kind of what I wrote out. Some of these examples, I would cut them apart. So we might have to change some of the wordage there depending on the pronoun you chose. But I think you kind of get the idea. So I might say, in this game, I play with my brothers. He plays with his brothers quite often. And so we would refer to our helpful chart there, brothers. And then I could close this up for this part. And of course, I would write more sentences in the middle piece, but for this demonstration, we'll leave it at that. And then you could close it with, now you know about basketball. You just learned about how I play basketball. There's lots of different ways that we could close that. We would do that task together and close that on the whiteboard. Each time we would continue to reread the story, and then I would go ahead and type this up with the picture he chose in his Google slide, and then we would continue from there in the days to come with choosing another picture, using some sentence frames, and having him be more engaged and more independent, having him type out the sentences then in his Google slide, which he is able to do again with some assistance. So let me know what you think of that. Sorry this went a little bit long, but this task, I just felt like I needed to give you all of that information. So anyway, I look forward to your feedback. Thanks.